Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth, or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. You're all welcome in this show, and thank you for supporting us and make us 100,000 subscribers on YouTube as soon as possible. And also, our shows are in both in English and Hindi on the same channel. We have combined both the contents together. It is a purely American channel working under American media guidelines. We only focus on history and analysis of history and also our scriptures, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Vedas. We speak from that perspective also. So without delay, let us welcome General Shashi Asthana. Welcome, sir.
Pleasure talking to you and your viewers and everybody who is attending it.
Sir, this Israel-Palestine conflict has, created so much confusion in the world, and suddenly we see that we are discussing ceasefire now in Israel-Palestine conflict. तो अभी हम लोग सडनली इजराइल सीजफायर के बारे में डिस्कशन देख रहे हैं. So what is the background story of this? What is happening?
Firstly, let me start with the breaking news of ceasefire, which is actually a humanitarian pause. Now, the news when it broke, it was a very welcome news. And I think welcome news not only for the entire world, for the hostages in particular, for the innocent people who are getting killed both sides. For them also, it was a very welcome news. But as the news broke, contradictions also started arising, and we are yet to see the implementation on ground, which was actually supposed to be held today, but it has been postponed for tomorrow. And therefore, there are contradictions. Now, what actually it is, Israelis call it as humanitarian pause. In United Nations terms, humanitarian pause is the temporary hold fire for humanitarian purposes and to make sure that the humanitarian activities can take place. The Hamas is calling it as ceasefire, which actually means temporary cessation of hostilities. Now, the perception difference starts from here. The second major issue is that, yes, the hostages and the welfare of hostages is a very major concern all over the world and of the affected countries too. And therefore, the deal was stuck. Qatar mediated it. All other players were involved. But the deal is between Israel and Hamas. So, therefore, the entire axis of resistance is not involved in the deal. In other words, the first contradiction is Hezbollah is not bound by this deal, nor is the Iraqi groups who are being supported by Iran, nor is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and other organizations who were supporting Hamas in this particular conflict. So that's one contradiction. The second contradiction was Israel was saying that it is a temporary, it's a humanitarian pause, but our fighting continues. And we will continue fighting till we win and till we complete our objectives. As far as Hamas was concerned, their story or narrative to their people was that, yes, after 4 days, the deal basically, let me first qualify the deal. The deal is that 50 people will be released in 4 days. It will be in the batches of 10 to 12. It will be women and children. And for every person who is released from the hostages list by Hamas, 3 Palestinian prisoners will also be released simultaneously. And this will be governed and regulated by ICRC. It will be under their watch. And in case the deal holds and everything works out fine, then thereafter, every day, the ceasefire will get extended and 10 more people will be released every day, and thrice the number of the Palestinian prisoners will be released. Now, the contradictions, couple of them I mentioned. The other contradictions were that Israel is mentioning that nobody from Gaza South can enter North, whereas Hamas has told their people that during this period, the North-South movement, that is to and fro movement, will be permissible. And Hamas is banking on the fact that the humanitarian aid will also reach North, and all these convoys will also reach North, where Israel has little apprehensions. The third thing is that Netanyahu, as well as Israeli officials, they have said that the war continues till the time we destroy Hamas completely. Now, if that is the case, then the chances of this deal actually going through can be perhaps little doubtful. So therefore, when it comes to this deal, we all pray and hope that it works, but there are contradictions, there are second thoughts, because now what Israelis are feeling, that if these 4 days may be perhaps good enough for Hamas to reorganize and re-equip itself and refuel itself and be a more potent force than what we have dealt already. Hamas is also feeling that maybe that we could extend more, and if this extension takes place, we will get perhaps a little more time. So as far as both sides are concerned, they are calculating, and same is the case with the other players. Now, other players are also calculating in that many terms. The other players, I would say, the axis of resistance, they are feeling that maybe that this was not the right movement, because the number of civilian casualties which have taken place, they are far in excess. Today, as we speak, I think the latest figures which have been put out is that it has crossed 14,000. So if for about 12 to 1,300 people, Israelis killed, if 14,000 civilians have been killed in Gaza, that's a grossly disproportionate figure. And this also puts question on the strategy, military strategy of Israel, which I'll be speaking a little later about it. So this is as far as the deal is concerned. We are hoping, again, the questions, there is a little doubt as to how it will play up, and we will have to wait for Friday morning to see as to how it actually translates and how it is actually implemented on ground. Back to you.
Actually, the thing is, the अभी ask in Hindi actually कि ये जो the thing which is happening now is suddenly the military operations of Israel are not yet finished right now. It's still going on. They're still cleaning up, and the humanitarian corridors are open. India also sent its humanitarian aid in advance for the Gaza residents. But nonetheless, you'll see the Palestinians in the USA and other countries still treat of India as an enemy, despite being so much aid given by India to them. So much aid. Like India has been the maximum giver of aid in this conflict. Even higher than USA. USA supplied weapons, but India has given more aid than the USA in terms of humanitarian aid, medicines, and food. But why this perception of Palestinians and Gaza residents, including their congressmen in the USA, against India? What do you say?
Yeah, see, there is a perception battle here. Now, the perception battle is then whatever happened on 7th of October, that was a brutal attack. It was an attack which only terrorists do. So it was a terror attack. And that terror attack was condemned, and rightly so. Because India follows a policy that terrorism must be condemned in every form and dispensation anywhere in the world. So I think India did no wrong in condemning the terrorism at that point of time, which perhaps has been seen by Palestinians and many other observers as India openly siding Israel. At the same time, as far as the Palestinian cause is concerned, that is also important, and that also India stands by it. I think India still has the embassy of Palestinians. India continued to talk about the Palestinian cause. India continues to say that it should be two-state solution, and therefore, and India is also sending the humanitarian aid, and India is also advocating that the fighting must stop. So therefore, I don't think that India has created this kind of, shall I say, confusion. The Indian policies are fairly okay. Now, as far as the perception is concerned, now let me talk about the perception, because the perceptions are based on how you read a situation. Anybody in the world who thinks that the start point of this conflict is 7th of October, his perception about this war will be different than anybody who reads that the start point for this conflict was the attack on Al-Aqsa in 2021. Now, there the perception changes. If you are of the view that everything started on 7th of October, you will say that everything has been triggered by Hamas. And therefore, Hamas is the villain and Israelis are doing self-defense. If you talk about the other side, the Palestinians will feel that the reaction or the action on 7th of October was a case of a long-term subjugation and their harassment in the occupied territory, and Israel happens to be the occupying force. Now, where is the reality on ground? Now, let me put the reality in the correct perspective. I think the entire world has said that it should be two-state solution, and all peace negotiators have said that it should be two-state solution. Now, what does it mean? If you see the landmass and the map of Israel, you have Israel, you have West Bank, and you have Gaza Strip. Now, technically, a two-state solution means that both the communities, that is Jews as well as Palestinians, must stay and live within these bounds of this landmass. But on ground, what has happened? Israel controls the landmass of Israel. It also controls West Bank, where you have about 150 plus settlements of Palestinians and more than 200 settlements of Israelis. So Israel is de facto is controlling West Bank. In case of Gaza Strip, again, the airspace is being controlled by Israel. The maritime space is also being controlled by Israel, and 6 exit points are also being controlled by Israel. So if you are sitting in the Palestinian side, and of course the water, electricity supply, everything is being controlled by Israel. So de facto, Israel has pushed through after 67 and 73, and thereafter the repeated, shall I say, encroachments, they have actually de facto taken control and made it a one-state solution, wherein they are the occupants and others are just living there. That is the perception of the Palestinians. So if anybody is following this perception, and anybody in that context, when it says that no, Israel has a right to defend itself, then obviously everybody will feel that perhaps he is citing Israel and he is not seeing the cause. So that is one issue. Now, if you see from the perspective of the Palestinians, yes, there is no doubt that they need a land for themselves, and they must have the right to have a homeland and govern itself by themselves. But what has happened in the case of Palestinians is that they had a very poor leadership after Yasser Arafat. There were no elections held in Gaza Strip after 2005, where Hamas was elected. So Hamas de facto calls it as elected government. As far as the West Bank is concerned, again, the story is not very rosy there itself, because Abbas also did not hold any elections after 2006. Most of these leaders, whether it is the Hamas leaders or it is the other leaders, a large number of them are corrupt. Large number of them live lavish life as the people suffer. And therefore, they have not made much headway. And Israel, with the help of United States, has become much stronger. Now, here again, I must criticize the blatant support or complete support of US also, because they have given a long rope to Israel in a manner that when it used to be said that Israel has a right to defend itself, when Israel was non-nuclear, let's take the case of 1967 and 73. When it was non-nuclear, it was surrounded by all the Arab countries, and all the Arab countries were fighting with Israel. This this phrase was very applicable and was very valid. Today, the state is that Israel has a very strong force. It's a nuclear country. There is no way that its existence is threatened. So that's one issue. Secondly, the way encroachments have been done, and after Netanyahu has taken over, there were further more encroachments, and when the judiciary tried to intervene, he started doing judicial reforms, which have also not been taken very conveniently. And with this kind of strength which they have, they became overconscious and complacent as far as their fencing is concerned. And there are also now whatever news you see and whatever news is being flashed in the United States or India or anywhere in the world is one-sided story, because the media and the information warfare of Israel is working better than Hamas. So therefore, what you find there is that the kind of shall I say what exactly happened on 7th of October needs to be investigated. There are a lot which has happened. There is no doubt that barbaric attack was launched by Hamas. They took hostages, and there is also some indicators to say that in panic the Israelis also fired, and there were some casualties because of Israelis fire too. Now we all cannot pass judgment on this, who is right, who is wrong, but then the fact is that it requires investigation. And if, let's put it this way, Netanyahu is very clear that if investigations are held, whether it is complacency or it is, shall I say, negligence, in both cases, he will be held accountable. And if the war continues, Netanyahu is in chair. The day the war stops, Netanyahu is not there. And that is why there is a case of political survival of Netanyahu also. Now, that is also fueling this war. So these are the kind of dynamics which are playing. I think here I must also air the concerns of the innocent people, and also tell about the strategy of, if you permit me, I will also talk about the strategy of Israel. You see, it's very easy to say, Netanyahu mentioned that, okay, I will finish Hamas, I will completely eradicate Hamas. Firstly, it's not all that easy. Secondly, they knew that there is a tunnel network. And if there is Hamas there, then the tunnel network, they would be in tunnel network, as Ukrainians used to use the metro stations, which were underground. If the aim of Israel was to destroy Hamas, then aircrafts are not required, tanks are not required, for a very simple reason, because Hamas will be underground, and if Hamas removes its weapon and comes out in public, he is a civilian. That is, and it's not all that easy to distinguish between the two. So therefore, it was a case of counter-terror operation where the force which has been used is an excessive force. And this gives a doubt for an analyst like me, who has been dealing with the terrorism and launching counter-terrorism operation. We have never gone beyond MMGs. Forget about artillery, tank, aircraft, etc., etc. So therefore, it was supposed to be a hand-to-hand fight. It was supposed to be a difficult fight. But what Israelis did, that they started relentless bombardment. So many people have been killed. The number of civilians which have been killed in 45 days is more than the numbers which have been killed in Russia-Ukraine war in more than a year. That is the casualty figures of the ladies and children. Similarly, if you take from 2006, Palestinians have a reason to say something, that between 2006 till today, the number of casualties of Israeli versus the number of casualties of Palestinians is in the ratio of 1:21. Now, this gives an indication that perhaps the Netanyahu's strategic aim was to make Gaza unlivable, to ensure that Palestinians vanish from there, and thereafter have the military bases there and destroy the entire network of Hamas. And this cannot be done without civil casualties. Now, this is where perhaps the strategy of USA and Israel is different, because USA, although they supported Israel for obviously for a terror action, a terrorist must be punished and Hamas must be punished for the terror act of 7th of October. There is no doubt about it. But I think even USA is feeling the heat. Their bases are being attacked. The amount of hatred which is going through, all their closeness with the Arab world is under question. So there is also a case to see that the US is saying that it should be two-state solution, and Israel should not permanently occupy Gaza, and they should not be controlling Gaza permanently. That is where I think Netanyahu is in little. His stance is different than United States. So therefore, and as of now, irrespective of who says what, for Israel, nobody else other than US matters. So this truce also, or shall I say the humanitarian pause also, has been brokered under the pressure, under the global pressure of the human right violations which have taken place. And therefore, now the viability of the Israeli strategy, while in short term you can say that, okay, I will finish Hamas, I will finish, make them reduce their capability to an extent that they cannot launch a similar operation as they have launched earlier. That much is still possible. But in long term, what has happened is, with this level of civilian casualties, you have already given birth to the next generation of Hamas. All innocent people killed, their children will never forget, and there will be a feeling of revenge, and therefore this is going to play up at some point of time. So in long term, I think the strategy is faltering. Now, when you take the case of Hamas, they have also faltered, but in some manner they have succeeded in some part of their strategy, in a simple reason. Their first thing was that they should take hostages, which they have done, because hostages are a guarantee and a trump card for them to sustain, to be able to maneuver the rivals to follow their line. The second issue was they did a barbaric attack, which must be condemned, but their intention was to provoke Israel beyond proportion, and Israel creates human rights violation, and they also come under tremendous tremendous ire of the world. And the Palestinian cause, which was in the back burner, that comes into the forefront. I think they have succeeded in that in some manner. But the next calculation where they have gone wrong is they thought that all Arab countries will blindly support us. That has not happened, because the terrorist attack, I don't think the Arab world is very keen. Arab world is also a number of countries, they still want to maintain good relations with Israel. They still want to come nearer the Western world. And as far as Palestinian cause is concerned, that I think most of the Arab world follows and supports that it should be a two-state solution. So this is where the things stand. And as far as India is concerned, I don't think the ire should come towards us. India's stance is very clear. No terrorism, terrorist act cannot be supported. And to that extent, we gave statement in favor of Israel. And we have also supported a two-state solution. We have also supported the Israel occupation, unauthorized occupation against the UN resolution, in which I think most countries supported, except 2-3 countries. India voted in favor of Palestinians in that UNSC meeting as well as in UNGA meeting. Back to you.
Is this conflict really solvable? Because it's going on for so many decades. It's just like the Pakistan's animosity towards India cannot be stopped in any way because of the religious indoctrination. And the same thing happening here. It's a religious war. Do you see it as religious war because Islam versus Jews?
Uh, we can give it, it is in a way, it is a religious war. And as you said, that it's a case of whether it can be solved or not. The problem is that Hamas does not agree that Israel has a right to exist. Now, Hamas has to change its ideology. That is first. Otherwise, with this ideology, they cannot move forward. A similar ideology existed with PLO, but subsequently they moderated. And now they say, no, Israel also has a right to exist and it should be two-state solution. So there was one moderation there as far as Palestinians are concerned, Palestinian Authority is concerned. The second, so this brings you nearer some kind of solution. Now, the problem which comes up with two-state solution, and so many people have been talking, and even USA has been trying for it. The problem where it comes up is as to how do you divide this landmass. In some people say that okay, you give East Jerusalem to Palestinians and keep West Jerusalem and make that capital. That is not acceptable to Jews because you have Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is third holiest site of Islam, and you also have in the almost adjoining now the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the Temple Mount, which is the holiest site of Jews, and you can't divide the two. They are built in such a manner, and same is the case with the West Wall. So both sides, they want East Jerusalem. So East Jerusalem has become non-negotiable on religious reasons, as you rightly mentioned. The second issue is that in West Bank, you have as I mentioned, you have both the communities living together. There are the Palestinians, there are about 150 settlements or more than that. And Israelis have grown their settlements. They have become more than 200 settlements. And these two settlements are intervening each other. And therefore, what has happened is there is no line which you can draw and divide this West Bank. So the problem is, if you have to draw some line, then somebody has to vacate that. Now, nobody is ready to vacate that. And that is where all two-state solutions are stuck. President Trump, he tried and he said, okay, give entire Jerusalem to Israel, and we will, the Palestinians can select one town and we will fund and develop it. But then they were not ready to part with the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So that is where it was stuck, and I don't think it was agreed upon by them, nor will it be agreed upon by the Arab world. So that is where the two-state solution is stuck, and so far there is no viable, shall I say, alternative which is getting worked out. Even Israel, the hardliners, they feel that no, we have to control the entire landmass, including West Bank and Gaza Strip. So if so long hardliner like Netanyahu exists, there is no way that there can be a solution. So I think there are a lot of articles being floated around all over the world, and they say that so long Netanyahu is in power, there is no way that there can be peace in that area.
India has managed the Kashmir conflict very well, actually. It was a similar conflict with a religious hatred of Islam against Hindus, which was being taught in the mosques, through the mosques and through Pakistan, actively Pakistan, and also supported by many Western agencies also. We can say it openly now, it's all articles are out. And it happened same way against India also. And still continuing to some extent. India recently lost some brave soldiers because of this kind of indoctrination. So, but still India is managing. Is it the resilience of the Hindu culture? Because the way we, manage the conflict through dialogue, and I would say, what we've seen that Kashmir is a complete transformation now, economic transformation. We manage through dialogue, through some kind of understanding and giving a free rein. Israel has also done a similar thing within Israel. They have done it because there are more than 1 million Arab population within Israel, which is also there. And they also have those secular lobbies, which we see in India. But despite that, India has managed very well. By many of the Kashmiri Muslims now feel integrated with India, and phenomenal work they have done. Is the resilience of the Hindu culture which came in the way, and which which is not existing in this part of the world, Israel-Palestine conflict, or what can they do such kind of outreach or no?
Certainly, firstly, yes, Hindu religion, richness of Hindu culture, and richness of India's secularism is one aspect. The second aspect, and which is a very important aspect, is that when we were dealing with the terrorists and when we were launching counter-terror operations, and I have done it throughout life. I mean, I have more than 4 decades of career in the army. We have ensured that winning heart and mind of people, that must go with military operations simultaneously. Secondly, you must minimize the collateral damages. So what we have been doing is that in case, let's say, a terrorist fires at us and gets into the crowd, we will not chase him. We will not fire on the crowd. We will ensure that we will control ourselves and our soldiers, and thereafter assume that if not today, tomorrow he will be in front of us. He will make the same mistake. Kashmir is not a very large area, and we will get him again. Now, this is the way Indian Army has dealt. We have never used artillery. We have never used automatic, MMGs or heavy weapons, I would put it this way. We have never used aircraft, and we have not used tanks over the people. In counter-terror operation, people are the center of gravity. You cannot win a war in counter-terrorism operation by killing innocent civilians. It's not possible. Unfortunately, there are people, especially the way this operation is going on, I would say that this basic principle has been violated. And this is going to be it is going to be not only a cost to Israel in long term, it will be a cost to all Jews all over the world, because the kind of hatred you would have seen, Israel itself is passing advisories to everywhere else that please look after yourself, please protect yourself. And in the bargain, if USA continues and there are more casualties, and God forbid if the hostages get killed, you will find that a similar problem will happen with Americans all over because of the kind of the hatred which is growing. So it's a serious matter. The civilians' casualties must be stopped or must be prevented. And I would put it this way, that if you see now so many people say that it's very easy to say, but why don't you suggest a strategy? Now, I have written in certain articles, I see no reason, and I repeat, no reason, why all Hamas commanders who are sitting comfortably in Qatar and elsewhere, they should not be targeted. I see no reason why the countries like Qatar, who have supported them, should not be sanctioned. So while you had all the ideas to sanction Russia and to sanction and apply all economic instruments and all kinds of instruments, you have not used even one instrument here. And now what has happened is you have started plastering the entire buildings. Now in that buildings, you think Hamas has been killed? Until today, Israel has never been able to give a figure as to how many Hamas fighters have been killed. So are you actually killing Hamas? Whom are you actually killing? So this is, I think Israel has to do some kind of analysis as to what is this kind of strategy which they are following. Are they gaining or they are losing? And so this is one reason why, and it's not today. That's why I said in this war, if your perception starts from 7th of October, it will be different. And if it starts from earlier period, it will be different. And if people who are counting their perception from the attack on Palestinians in Al-Aqsa Mosque, they will behave differently. And there are a large number of them who are counting on that. And that is why you will find different narratives coming. Somebody, Turkey is behaving in a different manner. Turkey is talking something else. Similarly, others are also talking. Now, rhetorics apart, this is a proper military strategy in which you must reduce collateral damages. Sometimes you do find that you buy casualties in doing so, in preventing collateral damages. We have fought, our brave officers have died, our have sacrificed their lives, our troops have sacrificed their lives, and it continues. But then the question is that you have to have that kind of resilience and discipline. I don't subscribe to this idea that you devastate everything, pulverize all civilians, and thereafter you move in so that you don't buy a casualty. Now, this is not an idea, and this is perhaps is something which is not letting it succeed. Now, let me also quote one thing which I'm sure your viewers would like to analyze. In Yom Kippur War, it finished in 19 days, whereas it was a total war, so many countries involved, etc., etc. 67 war finished in 6 days. Today it is 45 days, and the end of Hamas is nowhere near. So therefore, that much is the complicated. That much complication is there in this war, and why this complication is there is because, in my opinion, I would be as a military person, I would be absolutely clear in saying that this is strategy is not a strategy on which you can finish Hamas. You are creating more problems than resolving.
No, I totally agree with you, because the kind of repercussions people will have later on, and also we are dealing with the war between two similar cultures, very similar, and the it's like the brothers, almost the cousins fighting with each other. So it's like a fratricidal war, because mindset is the same. The enemy must be finished so that we can survive. That's the mindset, typical.
Yeah.
And in the Hindu culture versus the Islamic, the fight, the Hindus were more magnanimous in terms of accepting and in terms of understanding the human side, and therefore the war could over. I think the love conquered over the war's mindset. I would say that way, that the love of the Hindu culture and so that conquered over there. So the humanity survived in the end in Kashmir. But in case of Palestine, that doesn't seem to be the case right now, because both are going for, one needs to be finished completely and another so that the other can survive. But do you think the first the two side placement, West Bank and Gaza, two sides of Israel, it was similar to what India was, East Pakistan and West Pakistan? Do you think that that kind of momentum can be can be solved, because India created a separate country out of East Pakistan, and here in this case you have two sides governed by two different political factions, one governed by Hamas, another governed by the Palestinian Authority, and both of them are also competing with each other in terms of funds, for funds and
Certainly, yeah, certainly. This kind of division of two states, so-called two-state solution, is actually not two-state,
three
and
states.
it has become almost three-state. You can say in a way, but then the fact is that this. Sorry, I think there's something wrong. Yeah. So as far as India Pakistan, I'm taking the same analogy towards India Pakistan and East and West Pakistan. There is no doubt that that division was done based on the density of Muslim population at that point of time. And let me also tell you that the division of India was not purely on religious line. There was a strategic reason for that, and I must share that with you, because that is a very major reason. What had happened was, the West realized, especially UK realized, that a joint India will not toe their line. It will be a very strong country. And they had in mind, the UK as well as US and all other Western powers after Second World War, that they must checkmate USSR. Now, to checkmate USSR, the landmass which is present Pakistan, that must be with them. And if that is with them, then they will be able to perhaps launch operations or launch or create conditions which can be uncomfortable to USSR. So therefore, they found that between Jinnah and Nehru, there was political ambition, and as the ambition exists between Abbas and Hamas leadership, and these were contradictory ambitions. So therefore, they thought a good idea of pulling out this religious card, and that worked. At the same time, in case of Gilgit-Baltistan, can you imagine? It was a war in 1947-48 where commander-in-chief was same both sides. It was one commander-in-chief. He was also the commander-in-chief of Pakistan Army, and he was also the commander-in-chief of Indian Army. And this guy was maneuvering war from both sides. And in Gilgit-Baltistan, he told that officer who was in Gilgit-Baltistan, he was an Indian Army officer who surrendered to Pakistan, so that he gets that landmass in place. And that guy surrendered, and he got the highest award from Pakistan as well as from UK. So this is how there were strategic reasons why it was created. Now, as far as Israel is concerned, yes, a division of the kind makes the Palestinian Authority weak. And it was to make Yasser Arafat weak. And also there was a time when Yasser Arafat was getting stronger. That time, I'm given to understand that even some of the Israeli leaders, they pulled out one wheelchaired leader of Hamas, and then they tried to boost him up to pose a challenge to Yasser Arafat, to create a faction within faction. And therefore, unfortunate for them, Hamas developed its military wing, and this military wing subsequently went into a different direction. And today the status is, on paper, Hamas is an elected body, declared terrorist by the Western states, US, UK, Canada, and Israel, not declared terrorist so far by UNSC and the rest of the world. And the act which they have done on 7th of October is purely a terrorist act. So this is the status in which the Hamas is. So technically they claim that, okay, we are the government, and otherwise the perception wise they are not the government. So that is where the things are, and it was to weaken the Palestinian Authority that they have divided Gaza Strip and the West Bank in the manner. And they also found it difficult because the settlements were also in a little awkward manner. Now, initially, Israelis' plan was that they should vanish to Sinai Peninsula. And you would have seen there is again a very interesting question asked, and in various international debates, we have been asking this question from all the Arab world as to, okay, you guys are shouting so much that we are so sympathetic to these people. Why is it that nobody is helping them? And why is it that the humanitarian, the people who are suffering, especially the ladies, children, and casualties, why are they not being allowed into Egypt? Now, they have a reason to say so. They say that, let's say, if we open the Egyptian border and if we open the Rafah crossing, what is going to happen is the Palestinians will come inside. Once they come inside, the Hamas will also come in the garb of Palestinians. And Hamas military wing will not sit quiet. They will launch some rockets, and Egypt will land up into a direct war with Israel and a nuclear war with, which is a nuclear country. Now, they want to avoid that. And it is also a case that the Arab world is feeling that Israel's intention is that scare them so much that they leave voluntarily, and thereafter there is no call for two-state solution. And maybe at some point of time, the way people have forgotten Golan Heights, maybe people will forget the Gaza Strip also. So these are the kind of apprehensions which the two opposing sides have. And I've just analyzed both sides as to what all both sides are thinking without taking any sides of any of them.
No, you did a very good balancing act between the two. My little bit more outside question now: the Middle East, Midwest for India is a neighbor of India in any way. It's like 2,000 kilometers here and there, and we are here. And we have seen Houthi rebels using ballistic missiles, and all of them internally, if you look at their cultural and political dialogue there, they hate India. All of them, all of them. Despite you can give them tons of aid, you can give humanitarian aid, you can give doctors, you can give anything, but the hatred is not going to go away. And their ally is the Pakistani state, which is now Pakistani state is very weak nowadays, but the hatred is not gone now. This establishment is still like that. In the event of this being converting into a larger regional conflict, for many reasons, including Hezbollah, Houthis, and all these non military but military organizations, do you think that India can safely stay away militarily, or still work on the similar way what they're doing right
Militarily, I have no doubts that we will stay away. We will not intervene militarily in any of these scenarios. Secondly, I'm reasonably sure that Iran will not jump in directly. Indirectly, all these proxies of Iran, they will keep doing what they are doing. But I don't visualize this extending into a larger conflict or a regional conflict for two simple reasons. One is this did not start yesterday. This the Israel-Palestinian conflict is on for quite some time. And in this particular case, it is a little more restricted to Israel-Hamas conflict. And therefore, the problem is that others have not given indicators. There are something called as battle indicators. I don't think Iran or any other Arab country has given any kind of battle indicator that they would like to intervene in this war. And the fact that Egypt is trying to avoid getting dragged into this war means that nobody is interested in getting into this war. So that's one reason. Secondly, as far as the hatred is concerned, see, there is a radicalized Islam, and the radical elements will have hatred, whether it is ISIS, whether it is ISKP, whether it is Al Qaeda, whether it is JEM, and all these terror organizations. They all have a similar ideology. But one thing is very good in India, and that is that irrespective of what you see, various different debates or election debates in India between Hindus and Muslims and things like that, the Muslim population of India is very well integrated into India. Secondly, the freedom which the Muslims have in India is so much that not even one Muslim has gone out of India because of persecution. They may have gone out because of searching for a good job, good, shall I say, prospects outside, but nobody has gone out because of that. Secondly, we are the second largest Muslim population in the world. If you see the recruitment which took place in ISIS, there was minuscule from India. In fact, in one of the analysis, US was quite surprised that how is it that such a large population, there are very few people who have actually got indoctrinated to get into ISIS. So the reason was that their people can keep cribbing inside India, but they know that they are safest inside India. And that is why perhaps we do not visualize the kind of problems which others visualize. Yes, there are certain problems in Kashmir, very minor ones, because now I think Kashmir is on a totally different path, and their per capita GDP is better than many states of India. It is because of the proxy war, and that is by Pakistan. And that too, they are actually running out of cash because they were sustaining it by cash and narcotics and things like that. They're finding it difficult now. So that's one. And now I think we have dropped that figure of the terrorist is below 100 now. That's the level which we have been able to achieve. Even in other areas, there are hardly any, shall I say, problems which we face within India. So apparently, whether Pakistan follows a narrative or some other people follow a narrative, that may be different. But the kind of relationship which India has with Saudi Arabia, with UAE, with a whole lot of I2U2 and a whole lot of things coming up, I think, and with just imagine in Qatar, we have so many workers working there. In fact, in Middle East, there are a whole lot of Indians working there. And I don't think there has been a major cry of, shall I say, discomfort amongst this population. So apparently, this hatred is with radicalized elements which exist all over, and they also exist in even in the Western countries. So they will have to be dealt with, and I think we are a matured country, and we are a country strong enough to deal with all these elements. Back to you.
Actually, very well said. Very well said, because people, they have misconceptions that India may involve. India does have the military capacity to interfere in a big way. They show in Yemen, they showed in many other parts, but they're not inclined for doing that, using it. But do you think that in a case of a wider conflict, to prevent the conflict from reaching India's borders, Indian military may choose something to so that they can stop this flow towards India militarily?
I don't think, because see, whatever hostile action Pakistan could have done or can do, they have left no chance to do it. Now they know that they can't do much. So that's one issue, and they are the guys who have the land borders with us. We do not have, unfortunately, I mean, as per the boundaries, we have the land border with Afghanistan, but presently it is not physically in physical occupation of ours. So therefore, and we have good relations with almost all the Arab countries. If you see, in even Iran, we have very good relations. We have relations with, I think, good relations with almost all the countries. So therefore, India is more of a balancing act. If India has to see some role, it will be the role of a mediator, and it will be a role of trying to get people together, but not a confrontational role from any side, against, for or against any side. And I think will hopefully will continue to follow that.
Thank you so much, General Asthana, for coming on the show and informing us such important, deep analysis which you did on this topic, actually. And for, as at Sattology, we always hope for peace, and we work with many of the American communities, and they are all inclined towards peace. And our student network is also inclined towards peace. And in fact, peace is the biggest protest in the US campuses right now, because they are all voting for peace in their own way. But anyway, to punish one person and to get hope for peace later on is an impossible task. But at the same time, the terrorism needs to be condemned in any way, any shape, form, any kind of ideological. Thank you, General Asthana, for coming on the show. And thank you all the viewers for watching. Do like, share, subscribe, and let us know your feedback in the comments below. Namaste.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and through you to all the viewers and everybody who has attended your show.
Thank you.